Hey everyone, Dan here. It is during market hours on Monday, March 15th. Wanted to take a look at a few tickers that might be interesting. Before we get started, please hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoy these videos. I appreciate it a lot. And also throw comments below if you have ideas or questions. I think those things are helpful to everyone who comes after you to watch the video. So let's kick things off with SOS. I've actually gotten quite a few tweets about doing an analysis on this, so I took a look at it this morning and wanted to share what I see. So obviously this is the 1 hour chart and we're on a pretty strong bullish run this morning, which is great for any of you that are already in this play. I started to see some sort of like old activity with gaps. Gap here, that SOS has filled already, and a gap here. So I'm wondering if, this is one of those stocks that just sort of respects the gaps, if you will, and fills them. And if it does, and that's sort of like a consistent theme with SOS, what I would maybe look out for, if you're long, would be if it comes down to fill this gap here, that would stretch down into like the 660s, and if so, it may also come down to fill this gap here, which would stretch down into the low, or I guess mid 6s. So just be aware of that, because that would be a pretty steep drop from this mid 8s range that it's at right now. I actually drew these targets in before the market opened and had seen this 730 zone basically based on the price activity previously over here, and that's exactly where it hit its first point of resistance. So I think this chart is good to go. Obviously don't be surprised if it doesn't get to 10 today or whatever folks are looking for and comes back down through these zones, but these are the prices I'd be looking for. If you are looking for a dip buy or to average down because you're not scared if it falls, you have conviction in the company and you would hold through a downturn, just keep an eye on these gaps because that may be what it's coming down to do. I would say this 576 and 542 red zones, it should absolutely hold those. So, I mean, obviously no one wants it to almost cut its price in half and get down there, but just beware if it does fill these gaps and that causes sort of like a panic sell-off, I still would expect it to hold these ranges here. If we do get some ticks to the upside in the coming days, what I'm looking for is 1087. I do think there's quite a bit of run room between 920 and 1087, which is really exciting. Even for anyone who would be looking to take a new position, you might have, that's like a really big percentage gain. As is 1087 to 1223, which I think is its next sort of friction point after 1087. So look for it to establish support at its current resistance points. It's bouncing off of this right now, which is what we would have expected. And yeah, good luck if you're in this. I think it's an interesting chart. I'll probably be watching this one closely to take a position myself. Like I said, I've heard a lot of chatter lately about SOS, but I haven't ever played it. Let's hop over to NVTA, which I think is also getting some attention because I think Kathy Wood said something about it. She's very bullish on it or something. Hopefully I'm not completely mischaracterizing or misremembering that, but Google it and I'm sure you'll find if it's correct or not. But this does have a really strong resistance point here at this blue line, 43.57, and again this is on the 1 hour chart. If it does drop down to 41.37 or even close to 40, I would expect it to hold those levels. I don't see any reason why it would dramatically drop all the way back down here. I mean, it has, in my mind, consumed all of the necessary buying power and buying activity that exists around the $30–31 level. So I don't think it needs to go down there again to get bought up. I would be very cautious around this area with these boxes because it's consistently topped out there. I could even stretch this box over here because it actually subsumes those tops as well. So I mean, all this, you could essentially say this is 7 tops that it has had in this box since February 20 third. So be very careful as it gets into that box, which is, 44 to 45 essentially. High 44 to $45. Could be a topping out zone. If it does establish past that, I think it has good opportunity to run to 48.48 and then get itself into the 50s if it can establish support at 48.48. I then think it'll have a bunch of friction points in the 50s, probably a lot of taking profit and people buying in based on the hype. But that mix always breeds sort of an interesting choppiness, and as the play progresses, you end up seeing if the bulls or the bears take control. So good luck on that one. It could be an interesting one as well, especially if the Cathie Wood thing that I said is true. But double check that for yourself. Someone could leave a comment in the comment section below if they know more info on that. LOTZ, someone had asked me to take a look at this. LOTZ is definitely in a channel here, which is great. It's having a down day today, but what I look for in these channels is if it continues to respect the channel, I look to buy it on the lower end of the channel and then ride it back up to the higher end of the channel. If it does sort of dip down, I put this red line here with the 876 because if it does fall out of the channel at some point here, which it definitely will if it gets to that 876, I would hope that it respects that 876 as strong support and pops itself back into the channel. The other possibility is it does respect 876, but starts bumping its head against the bottom of the channel and then falls back down through 876. So in my opinion, bad looking chart if it respects 876 support, but then develops the bottom of the channel as resistance. Then I think it's soon to fall back through 876, and we'll have to look for a different bottom at that point. Yeah, we could circle back to it at that point. I don't immediately see something that's obvious. If it does continue through this channel, I do think this 1014 will be quite a challenging mark for it to get over and establish that as support. So that would be my next one to really look for. And then 1090, if you continue through the channel to there. 1142 is green because I think that's a really good upward bullish price target if you're in this play and you can get to 1142. There's a good chance that it's going to have strong resistance there as well, but that may be an opportunity to consider taking profit and re-entering if it does dip, snatching it up and coming back into it. So those are my thoughts on LOTZ. And lastly, TLRY, which I have played before. I'm not currently, but the channel that this in is starting to look pretty solid. It's having a nice pump today. And yeah, so if it holds this channel, basically what I'd be looking for is there's actually quite a bit of run room. There might be a little bit of resistance point here just shy of 30, but I mean, I already have this level at 29.15, so I didn't want to also draw a level at 29.98, but just know there might be something there that's a little bit challenging for it. I could highlight it this way, I suppose, just based on all of this previous topping out. So just watch out as it gets in line with that box. If it can establish there, I actually think it has quite a bit of run room up to 35, and those would be my upper price targets, 35.47, 36.74. If I do get into the play, which I might. This was a nice snatch up this morning, actually, because it's at the bottom of this channel. So be something to look for there, depending on how it acts from this point forward. All right, that's all for this one. I appreciate it, and good luck in any of these trades, and I'll see you in the next video.